we're going to look at part 3 of our video looking at tank inventory measurements. So I've done a little bit of work since part 2, and that's what I'm going to take you through. So this is our UI that we've developed. Last time we spoke, during the last video we developed these gauges and we scaled them. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to have some alarms, visual, and we're going to add the trend data, and we'll do that for all 4 channels. Remember, our milliamp input card has got 4 channels, so I've already set up channel 3 so we can start working on this. And then channel 4, what we're going to do is cut and paste one flow to another. So looking at our flow, you can see here I've got now vessel 1 flow, vessel 2 and vessel 3. Now I could have quite easily put these all on one flow, but I don't like to make it too busy. During our last video we got to this stage here. So today we're going to have a look at this node here, which is a limit monitor. We're going to add an LED indication, and we're also going to add a chart and a reset function. So let's take a look at the chart first. So we can use this from the existing library that we installed. So we have here dashboard. Within dashboard there is one called chart, and we're going to drag that in and set that up. Okay, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to copy this one to speed things up, and then I'm going to paste. Now, the really important thing with chart data is we can have multiple process values coming into one chart. You know, it needs to be informed what the tag is for each one of those, process values. And during the first video we didn't do that, so we need to go into these change nodes and add. So I just clicked on add here, message topic, and gave it a name. So when we put a debug node on here, we will see a message that contains a topic and the process values. I can see now on the right hand side I have my loop as my topic, and there's my payload. Okay, now I've done that for each one of these. So topic, percent, level and distance. I can get rid of that debug now, and I can link all of that into my chart now. And that is, first of all, it's not chart 2, it's chart 3. And then I need to tell it where I want to display it. So if I show you this, if I go to dashboard, you can see under here I've added another group called 3, and this will make sense when we copy and paste the last vessel. So come into here, I want it to display on group 3, which is labelled up as vessel 3. And then what have I got? I've got a line chart. It's going to do it for 1 hour. That's my x-axis scale. I'm going to leave UTC on ticked for now. If I don't put anything in the y-axis, it automatically scales. And then this label here is what it displays on the screen if no data is arriving. And all I need to do now is deploy. If I go and have a look here, go back to my dashboard view, what I want to see is how that's going to look. And I can see now I've got my chart. I haven't got the buttons yet because I haven't done the alarms. So let's have a look what that looks like. So now I have my charts, but I haven't got this reset button. You can see when I click on here, look, it says waiting for data because I'm polling every second, so there's a slight gap. So I want the reset button here on this screen, and then we'll look at these LEDs. So going back to my flow, if I have a look at the help for a chart, it says to reset, set the message payload to square brackets with a space in between. I'm actually going to use the button function down here. So you'll see here there's a button, gone blind, there it is right at the top, button. We drag and drop that in, but again I'm being lazy, I'm going to do Control C. come to vessel 3 and Control V, and I'll show you what I've got on here. So this resets the chart. That's the input to the chart. And if I have a look at what I've got in here, label reset chart, and then my payload is a JSON expression with bracket, space, bracket, and a message topic. But this needs to be energized, it's got an input. So to do that, it's just a one-off hit. It needs to see at startup. So I can come in here, inject, clear it. I don't need to inject anything, and I'm just going to inject it once on startup after 0.1 seconds, and then I'm going to add that to my chart. And what I haven't done is say where I want it to be displayed. I want it to be on vessel 3. So this is the storage location. I'll deploy. Before I go and have a look at my runtime, let's have a look at my layout, see where it's put the button at the bottom. So I can go and have a look at that now. So here's my chart. It automatically assigns these colours, but you can adjust it so it's fixed, but I'm not overly fussed for that. So if I click on the reset now, there's my data coming in, and these are all working. I've got 0 milliamps because I've physically got an open circuit. So that's what we want to have a look at now, is how we bring in these sensor faults and these icons. So I've brought 2 nodes into my project, and if I go to my manage palette, I can view all of my nodes here, and the ones I've installed are limit monitor. So limit monitor contrib, this one here, it's already installed. So if you go to the official help page for that, you can see it. There's even a demo project if you want to run that. So this is the one node that we're bringing in. So it took some finding, but it was quite low on the list. There are others on here. You can play around with these, but this is the one I'm using. Contrib UI LED, and if you click on the help, we can have a look at the help for this. So you get a status, and the input is a boolean true or false that triggers these indications, and it's purely an indication on the dashboard. So let's start putting some of these together. So let's have a look at vessel 3. First one we want to put in is the limit monitor, which is here, and we'll start with the level. We want to do a high level alarm, so we'll bring the process value from here into my device, and then I can have a look at the settings. So my limit, I've got an empty distance of 3 meters. I want a high level alarm, so this is going to trigger as the level is rising, not as it's falling. I'm going to set it to 2.9, because what I don't want is somebody to overfill the vessel. So if somebody's delivering or pumping liquid into a vessel, we don't want to overfill it and spill. We want to stop the process. I'm going to put a delay because I don't want it to go off straight away, because we might have the liquid might be or sloshing around. So let's put something on there. By the way, sloshing around is a proper technical term. So we'll put in here 2. So 2 seconds, and then the hysteresis here is when it goes back off. So when the level starts to drop, if I put in here 0.2, it's going to de-energize the LED and give us a different output when we get to this 2.7 value. You can give it a name, and you can see here the message payload output is going to be true or false. Right? So this makes it nice and easy for us now to have the LED. So if we bring in the LED, we can wire that up, and you can change whether you want red to be true. It depends whether you've got a fail open or a fail type closed scenario. You need to tell it again where you're displaying it, vessel 3 in this case. I'll call this high level. I will tidy this up after. Where you want the text to be displayed, and then the actual label that you're going to use. Now this is important, and you'll see in a minute, because if you don't do this, it will just call them all LED, and then it gets a bit confusing when you're trying to arrange your dashboard. You can either have it as a circle or a square. You can click on this preview here, so square, and you can have it so it doesn't have the, so it puts this nice jazzy, fuzzy edges on it. Again, another technical term. But we're going to change the size of this to 3. Okay? We don't need it to be auto, so it's going to be 3 by 1. So if I click done and deploy, okay, there's going to be no alarm because my level's low. So we'll program another one in a minute, but I want to go to my dashboard and look at my layout. Here, if I hadn't put the high level in, it would have just said LED at the top, and I've had 3 of these called LED, and I wouldn't have known which one's which. So the label at the bottom is for this display and for your flow. Okay, the description here, the label, this one here at the top is for your dashboard. So if I do deploy and then have a look at my dashboard, you'll see high level. It's waiting for its first reading. This was a little bit of an issue that I saw, so I fixed this. I don't want this to be grey because it hasn't triggered a state to go true or false. So what I did was have this startup inject node. So again, I brought the inject at startup. It forced all of my alarms to go to false. So then it would force it to read the next condition. So it's like a fail-safe condition. So I can control C this and then take this to my vessel 3, and I can wire this into my LED. So I'm going to force all of my LEDs to reset at startup. So if I deploy that now and go back and look at my dashboard, it's gone red. Okay. I've got my logic the wrong way around, so let's have a look. I don't want this to be red because my level is not above 2.9. So again, quite easy to do. Come back to my LED, change that so red is true and green is false. It's the logic that I've got coming out of my high level is the other way around. So I'll deploy that, and I can see on my dashboard now my high level's gone green. So you can see now I've added vessel 3 onto the screen. The reset works. Just a little bit of housekeeping just to take you through what I've done. The sensor alarm, the milliamps failsafe, can either be 22 milliamps or 3.6. So you can see here I've got 2 links to my 4 to 20. I've got a low limit that triggers below 3.8 and comes back on at 4 with a 2-second hysteresis. So that will cover my failsafe low. So anything below 3.8 is going to trigger a sensor fault. But because somebody could program the failsafe to go high, which could be above 21, I've also done that. Now you can't have that instance happening at the same time on the same sensor. It's physically impossible. So I can do that and have them 2 separate, feeding into one LED. I'm not going to be creating any random toggling or anything like that. It should work quite nicely. Well, it does work quite nicely. If we have a look at our screen, happy with all of that. My high level here is grey, so I've obviously got a mistake. Yep, cutting and pasting. I forgot to put my button in, so I put my inject in. Sorry, not button. So it resets the button, the alarm indicator on every startup. So I'll put that in and deploy. And see now I'm happy with that. So that's good. So the next stage is to create vessel 4. So we need to create a flow. So we just click on the plus here, add a flow, double click the tab at the top and rename it. Now before I copy and paste my flow, what I need to do is add another group to my visualization. So at the top, go to the tab, add group, and then I can edit it and I can give that a name. don't have to name it at all, but it's just to pull it in with my project. And you can see here it's linked to that tab. Now the width of these has always been 9 for the other one, so I set it to 9 and then update. Now the housekeeping is, there's my project, so I can copy all of that, the same as you would copy anything in Windows. Select it all and then press Control C. Come to this one, which I've just realised I've missed the 4 off the end, and then Control V. And so, but we've got some housekeeping to do. We've copied the exact code from one space to another. First thing we need to do is, this is now looking at milliamp input 4, so we need to do that. There's nothing really to do here, but then when we start looking on where we're pushing our data, so we're pushing it to a global memory location, so this will be loop 4, a new global memory location. So we need to change all of these to 4 rather than 1, and then we need to start positioning stuff in the right place. So if I do a deploy now, you'll see the mess that it's created. Okay, so there's one or two ways you can do this, but let's have a look at our dashboard, and you should see now that the layout, look, dashboard 1 has gone crazy, yeah, because I haven't told all of my visualization widgets to go over here to vessel 4. Now you could drag and drop it, but I haven't got around to, it just says level, so I don't know which one's which. So it's easier to do it from the flow. So I'll start with these, double click them, open them and select vessel 4. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a way in Node-RED that you can select multiple and do it, but we'll go through this now. So I've changed all of those, or I think I have. Let's have a look at our dashboard. I'm already there, layout, and let's just see that we've got everything in the same place. So level percent loop, sensor fault, reorder, chart. So I need to just do a little bit of tidying up with my text on my chart. And you can see now that, that as my project's started to build it, I should really be renaming these to milliamp loop 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I do go back to this layout view, it all makes sense. So, there's a typical example of don't multitask. So we'll deploy that. We're happy with the layout, and then if we go to our dashboard, I can make these collapsible if I really wanted to. So let's just go back in and have a look at this group here. Edit, allow the group to be collapsed. I've made my changes to the groups, so you've got the drop down to show you, and what you can see on the screen now is a problem I forgot about actually with Node-RED, and I'm not too sure whether it's an issue with the processing power on the Raspberry Pi, but it's to do with the trends. And this is why I've done some video about getting your time series data to a more powerful tool, something like InfluxDB. So you can see here now I've done an update, and I really can't get my trends to appear. Yeah, so the issue is that each one of my trends here now is full up with 4 data points that have been recording every second for the past hour, and it's pushing the old data out and in, and so they're all full up with all of this data, and it's really slowing the dashboard tool down. I've added a manual reset for the chart within my code, but rather than having separate buttons for each flow, what I'm going to actually use is I have it here on vessel 4, so it's a direct link into my chart, and then I'm going to start using these link outs and link ins. So I've got a link out here, I've dragged it in, and I've called it reset chart. So if I go to vessel 3 now, I can have a link in. I can double click this, I can link it to my reset chart, so it's like an invisible wire. It's going from one flow to the other, and I can do that for vessel 3, and then I can do it for the others. I can do it for the others as well. So if I inject this reset, that should have cleared all my trends now. Let's see, there we go, I'm working again. So there's my button expandable group that I've put on. I could do that for all of them, or I could rearrange the icons so I can fit it all on one screen, or I can manually zoom. Yeah, so that's the beauty of this being a web app. I can just use Control and the rollerball on my mouse to get this to fit on one screen. That'd be the easiest way to do it. So just look out for that one. My advice is not to make these trends work too hard. So it's something I forgot about. Maybe 1 hour is a little bit too much. Let's put that to 30 minutes for each one of these. To summarize why I'm making the changes here, we have now tidied up our movement of data. So we added a topic to it. So for each one of these flows, they all have separate topics, and the data is being moved into separate global memory area. And we need the topics to make the chart work. We've added a chart, we've added a reset button to the chart, we've added now some limit monitors with some LEDs. We're resetting the LEDs on startup, and we have encountered a problem with charts because there's too much data in there, causing it to slow down the UI to a point where it won't actually load up properly. So we fixed that. What we'll have a look at next is we will see how we can use this example here where we're pushing simulated data into InfluxDB. We will edit this payload with the data that we've got coming from our context storage. So if we have a look in here now, global, we've got all of our distances, 1, 2, 3, 4, levels, loops, percentages. We will push these into a message payload that pushes that data into InfluxDB, and we'll use InfluxDB for trending, which is much more powerful than the trends that you get here with Node-RED. So I hope you found that useful. As always, I like to show you the good and bad as it happens. I hope you learnt a lot. Please click on the notification bell because the next part of this will be coming out very shortly. But for now, thanks for listening and hope to see you again soon.